I'd like to welcome all of you to the 2018 Lyon College Athletic Hall of Fame Awards ceremony. And I'd like to give special thanks particularly to our dining and maintenance staff for making this possible. We're doing it here in the main dining room, so they have to actually serve all the students as well. They're all downstairs tonight for the most part. I'd also like to thank our information services staff for setting up the AV. Of course, our athletics department for everything they did for this event, and then the volunteers who assisted, and then specifically our new alumni director, Cindy Barber, who is we're putting on mightily. I think we've done, 3 or 4 alumni events this week, so we really appreciate her as well. And I just want to welcome all of you back to the college. I think this is an important time in the life of the college when we can come back together and celebrate athletics and the student athletes who have come from Lyon and gone on to great careers and been real exemplars in their community. So it's a really nice time to get together and celebrate that. To start off this evening, I'd like to ask Fred Wan to come forward and offer the invocation.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings that you bestow on us each day. We thank you for Lyon College. We thank you for the faculty, the staff, especially the coaches tonight who have the opportunity to lead these young men and young ladies. Maybe someday they'll be back for a Hall of Fame. Special thanks, though, go to our new inductees, Hall of Fame. Thank you for being here, and thank family and friends that are here to support you and celebrate your induction later on. Also, I want to thank those of you who have already been inducted and you come back. You're the very basic core and nucleus of this, and I appreciate you being here tonight. I know we'll have a great night. I know some of the speeches will have some smiles as they maybe make a few jokes, or maybe we'll even laugh. But our Heavenly Father, pray you give them good direction as they leave tonight and a safe trip home. And we thank you, and let us all begin. Amen.
Now I'm supposed to give you these really complicated instructions on how to eat. I'd just like to ask that that you allow the honoree tables and the head table to go first, and then follow after in the buffet lines, which run on both sides of the servery. So enjoy your dinner, and we'll be back to you with the program after that. Thank you.
Once again, welcome to Lyon College and our annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. If you haven't went and picked up your dessert, please feel free to go and do so. Continue to eat as we get ready to start the program. First off, I would just like to introduce some special guests that we have here, and then we will get the program going from this point forward. But first of all, congratulations to the inductees. We're excited for you. It's an honor for us at the college to recognize you and your accomplishments when you were here, and glad to have you back with us tonight. It's a very special evening, and we're looking forward to all the fun and the reminiscing that we're going to do here tonight. All the Hall of Famers, again, welcome back. Glad that you took time out of your busy schedules to come back and be with us. It's always great to see you and be with you tonight. And again, we're happy for you to be here, and we're looking forward to a great evening. And before we get started, I'd like to introduce, I know Dr. King has already been up here, but President King, our president, is here in the audience with us, and we're glad that he's here and he'll take part of the ceremony. Some other people in athletics that are the behind-the-scenes people that do a lot of work for us. Megan Bryant, the administrative assistant. Megan, would you please stand? Our sports information, Matt Jagozinski. Matt, he's over here. We have a couple of assistant sports information directors, but they also follow in the role of men's assistant basketball coaches, and they're on the road tonight, so they're not here. Justin and Jeremy Wagner. Our athletic trainers that are here tonight are head athletic trainer Sean Tackett and Tori Lamb, an assistant athletic trainer. At this time, we have, of course, we've got several of our teams on the road participating, so some of our coaches are away. But at this time, our athletic staff is in the realm as far as assistants and head coaches, are 30 range as far as employees we have here now with our 18 sports. And at this time, I'd like to have all of our head coaches and assistant coaches to stand and be recognized. Please stand. They're out doing a wonderful job recruiting our student athletes and working hard and preparing our student athletes for competitions. And then the other group that's really special to me and that is here tonight with us tonight is our seniors that'll be graduating in the spring. And so at this time, I'd like to have our senior athletes that are with us tonight to please stand. And I know we had two lovely ladies that were helping us at the front. Now, if I'd be in trouble if I didn't recognize those two, would you two please stand? Here are two volleyball student athletes that helped at the Welcome Center. And at this time, I'd like to ask Dr. King to come forward, and we're going to get our induction ceremony going. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize our Master of Ceremonies for this evening, Mr. David Brogdon. David is a 1993 graduate of Lyon. His parents, Kay and Ronnie, are also graduates. He was a four-year player for the Scots under coaches Terry Garner and Kevin Jenkins. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012 along with his father. They are the only father and son inductees that we have. David is the Chief Financial Officer of Bad Boy Mowers and the owner of Stars Academy. David, would you please come forward?
Generally, I don't need one of these, so if this is really loud, I apologize. Been a good day today for a lot of people in this room. Both our men and women won at Hannibal Grange, so let's give them a round of applause, even though they're not here. It's a big conference start. You know, we got a guy here making a sacrifice. Coach Jenkins' daughter played down at Hendricks today. He didn't get to go because of this. She got a win today, so that's awesome too, Coach. I know that's not easy to miss a game like that. That's tough. We appreciate you being here. I'd like to ask the selection committee members to stand. If you're on the selection committee, stand up. Let's give these guys a round of applause. And then the Hall of Fame members, I'm going to call out your names. If we can hold our applause till the end and then give them one big round of applause. Dick Bernard, Ronnie Brogdon, Jim Canada, Doc Freeman, Gary Garner, Coach Terry Garner, Rodney Griffin, Jim Haney, Coach Kevin Jenkins, Coach Kirk Kelley, Rylan Kiefer, Elbert Lindsey, Francis Rogers, Elin Rosales. I got it right. I will never forget that after that speech you gave. I will never forget your name, I promise you. Elliot Sampley, David Seward, Stu Smith, Jim Summers, Fred Wan, and Gary Weeks. Let's give these guys a round of applause. All right, now we're going to move on to the presentation of the Hall of Fame honorees. Mr. Weeks, would you come to the stage, please?
Sir, thank you. So, Lyon College is a special place. And if you have any doubt about that, you talk to Doc Freeman. Doc will tell you just exactly how special this place is and how important it has been for him and for all of us who've traveled the road that led us through Batesville and Lyon College, and how that it has affected our lives and the lives of those who we have had responsibilities for. Tonight is a special night for some special people, and for many of us who are back here tonight, this is like being back on holy ground. We all feel a sense of pride and for being here. One of the people who's being honored here tonight is my good friend and former teammate, Terry Barnhill. Terry and I go back some ways, back to Hoxie, where we played there, and then he came on here to Lyon College, and I followed him here. And when you think about how do you get from Hoxie to the Lyon College Hall of Fame, it reminds me of a famous poem about a road less taken. Because there's not many people that make that trip. And if you ask David Seward back there, he'll tell you that when he started with 6 people in his class, but there was only one that finished. There was only one that traveled that road. Because if you took that road, it brought you to the Arkansas College field house where a man by the name of Coach R.C. Winningham was in charge. And Coach Winningham was not a personality for the faint of heart. And anyone who played for him, including Doc, who played on his very first team, didn't you, Doc? Yeah. He said he came here to make it or break it. That was his words. So what you learned quickly about Coach Winningham was that there was 4 years of bleachers to run in the old Arkansas College field house. And then there was this special drill that we ran called the whistle stops. That's where you run until he blew the whistle, and then you ran until he blew it again. And we did that. And then we ran the line drills. Line drill after line drill after line drill. And sometimes you would be running those drills and somebody would just disappear. They'd be gone. You never saw them again. But then there was, and I think Coach Winningham took some significant delight in this, the hell drill. Y'all remember that, don't you, Terry? Yeah. The thing about running the line drills and the hell drills and all was every time you looked up in front of you, Jim Haney was in front of you. Every time. You never run a drill without Jim Haney being in front of you. And you know, and Coach Winningham expected everybody to keep up. So the road less travel comes through the Arkansas College field house and Coach Winningham. And Terry finished 4 years there. And he finished 4 years because he persevered. And he's here tonight because he persevered and because he had the talent and because he had the good luck to have had a high school coach named LeVon Robertson who said, Terry, I want you to go down there. And he did. And Terry made the best of his 4 years here. He's made a lot of friends, and a lot of those people are here tonight. And it's been a joy to see him and all of us reunite. But more importantly, Terry met his lifelong partner who's been on the road with him the whole way. Right, Jeanne? Yeah. So the road less traveled was the road that brought him here and where he met his wife. And together they've passed 50 years of a road well traveled, and a life well lived. There are things in the bulletin or the ceremony here that'll tell you a little bit about Terry, and so I'm gonna not do that. Just to say that Terry spent most of his working life as a professional working in HR for Fortune 500 companies where he achieved significant success, and his wife, Jeanne, finished her educational doctorate and has worked in education all these years. So finding yourself on this dais tonight is more than just spending 4 years and bringing some talent to Lyon College and spending 4 years playing for Coach Winningham. It involves a life well lived, and it involves a road well traveled. And so tonight, congratulations to Terry, and I think you can say this with a sigh. 2 roads diverged into wood and I took the one less traveled by. And that's made all the difference. Congratulations, Terry.
Wow. One of the things, where'd Gary go? One of the things you didn't mention, Gary, when we were running the bleachers, the little trick that we learned that I don't think Coach Winningham ever quite figured out. The restrooms were in the lobby, and when we get to the point where we had to regurgitate, we'd run into the bathroom and do that, and also got to rest a little bit. Yeah. Wow, what an honor. Thank you, selection committee, wherever you are, for this honor. Thanks, Gary, for that great introduction. Only a lawyer could do that. Of course, Gary mentioned he and I were teammates all through junior high, high school, college. I want to introduce real quickly, all my family are here. My wife, Jeanne, whom Gary mentioned, my son, Kyle, his wife is over, Amy's over on the other table. Our Travis Bartlett and my daughter Erin are over at the table over there, and Bo Bartlett, the little one over there, is my grandson, and Georgia is my granddaughter, and Gus is my grandson. I mentioned Amy. And I also want to especially thank Larry and Mary King for being here. Larry and Mary and I went to high school together. Matter of fact, Larry and Gary and I played on basketball through junior high and senior high. So I'm proud to have them here tonight. We had a great time today. We hadn't been back to Batesville in a few years, just driving around. It's been about 15 years since we lived here, showing our grandkids where we had lived and all the things that had changed since we had been here. We built 2 homes when we first, while we were in Batesville, one right after we first came here out in Eagle Mountain, and then a few years later we built another one out in the country that was going to be our retirement home. And Conagra had other plans, I guess, so we wound up leaving Batesville. But it's hard to believe, in thinking about this, that it's been over 50 years since I walked on the campus here as a freshman and a Scots basketball player. and just getting to visit with some of our former teammates, Jim Haney, Jim Canada, Gary Garner, of course Gary, and seeing Fred Wan and all the others that I haven't seen in years, but we still keep up on Facebook, and thank goodness for that. It's been great reminiscing, catching up with them. As Gary mentioned, we both played basketball at Hoxie. I started there in the 7th grade. First time I played competitively anyway, organized basketball. But he'd mentioned LaVon Robinson. LaVon came to Hoxie my junior year. LaVon was right out of, I know there's a lot of people here that know LaVon, knew LaVon. He had just graduated from what was then known as here as Arkansas College. And he was a great coach, and thanks to him, I had a pretty good high school career. LaVon talked often about this school, about Coach Winningham. He was very fond of Coach Winningham, and talked about the Scots basketball program, and Gary's right. He probably recruited both of us here. He brought us to games here. I remember the first time we came to a game, I don't remember who they were playing, but they won. And Gary, I don't know if you were, or Larry, I think Larry came some too. But anyway, LaVon, I remember him taking me down to going down to the locker room and introduced me the first time to Coach Winningham. And I got to admit, I was a little bit, I won't say in awe, but anyway, he also introduced us to the players. Some of the players had been his teammates in prior years. And the two that I remember several, I think David Seward was there at the time, and Shelby Qualls, and I know Jim Haney was probably there, but the two that stood out to me that when looking back on that was Fred Lamb and Bill Baxter. What a couple of characters. They're neither one here tonight, I don't guess. But they're the two that I remember that they were so animated in the room. They were bantering back and forth with LaVon, and they were just having a great time. And it was just really exciting for this farm boy from Northeast Arkansas. There were other visits after that, but there was never any doubt in my mind, I don't think, that if given the opportunity, this is where I wanted to be, where I wanted to go to school, where I wanted to play basketball. My senior year, Coach Winningham came to our athletic banquet and spoke, and I remember afterwards we had a chance to visit, just he and I, and he asked me if I'd be interested in coming to then Arkansas College, and I said, "You bet." That's something that I'd been dreaming and hoping that would happen. It's a decision I've never regretted ever, because not only did I get to play basketball here, which I'd like to say dreamed of doing, but I also got a great education. It's an educational experience that I felt has helped me helped me into being the person I am today, and influenced, I believe, some of the major career decisions I made over the course of my life. Whatever success that I've had since leaving college in my life and in my professional career, I attribute to my educational experience and athletic experiences here at Lyon. My wife, Jeanne, who Mary mentioned, she received, she's always said that she received her degrees from Arkansas State University and University of Arkansas, but she received her education at Lyon because here she said that she was taught to think critically. And later on, that was the subject of her doctoral dissertation. I can't add Coach Winningham's stories probably more than Gary did, but I can't close without telling at least one story about Coach Winningham. He was a great coach. We didn't appreciate him probably as much at the time we were playing as we did after we graduated and look back on the experience. But he was a great coach, and I think he got the very best out of his players that they had to give, and sometimes a little more. But one of the things that Coach Winningham did was he frowned on his players dating during basketball season. And frowned is probably an understatement. He felt it was a distraction, and he was probably right. We tried to keep it under the radar, but you know how that goes. It was January of my senior year, and I'd started dating one of the cheerleaders, and it's hard to keep that under the radar. After practice one day, as we were headed to the showers, he grabbed me and held me back while everybody else left the floor, and we had a brief conversation. The conversation went something like this. He said, "Barnhill," he always called us by our last names. I don't ever remember him calling any of us by our first name. He said, "You're having a good year. But if you let that little blonde cheerleader mess that up, I'm going to," and the rest of it I probably need to leave to your imagination, because y'all know that Coach Winningham could be quite colorful at times. Anyway, I guess he never felt the need to bring that up again, even though I continued to date that cheerleader. A year after I graduated, that beautiful young lady became my wife and has been the love of my life for the last 47 years. Whatever success I've had in life and in my career, I couldn't have done it without her by my side, and I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity that I've had to come here, to get an education, play basketball. It's an honor to have been teammates with Hall of Fame members like Jim Haney, Jim Canada, Bill Cossey, Ronnie Brogdon, Ted Box, Gary Weeks, Gary Garner. Some of them are here tonight. We share a lot of great memories. And thanks for honoring me tonight. You'll never know how much I appreciate it. Thank you.
That was heartfelt. It was, my whole life, when I was little, Coach Winningham was still alive. My dad would take me and we'd go visit him. First over here, close to the college, and then down in Conway. And I remember those days. And I look around in my life at the people that I tried to emulate. The Jim Haneys, Coach Canada, all these guys, my dad. That man made a lot of good men, for sure, for sure. All right, our next presenter is Mr. Stu Smith. Come on up here, Coach.
Thank you. It's a real honor for me to be here tonight, stand in front of you and present Jennifer Presley Griffin into the Lyon College Athletic Hall of Fame. I first knew of Jennifer in the late 1980s. She was one of those athletes that only come around so often. She was special to say the least. At the time, I was the junior and senior high girls track coach at Batesville, and I can remember to this date her starring at Heber Springs and us pulling up in our bus to a track meet, and they'd see that Heber Springs on the side of the bus, and right away our girls would go, "Uh-oh, it's going to be hard to win a blue ribbon today," said Jennifer Presley's here. And she usually did win those blue ribbons. Jennifer could do it all on the track. Such a pleasure to watch. She could glide around the track. She had the talent, but she also had the grit and the determination that went along with it. I always said that Elvis Presley may be the king of rock and roll. But in Cleburne County in north central Arkansas during the late 80s and 90s, you knew that Jennifer Presley was the queen of women's athletics. She was so versatile and was good at every event that she participated in. She could and did set records and win championships in numerous events in high school, whether it had to do with sprinting, hurdling, jumping, or distance. Jennifer was going to excel at it. A story, and I see her coach, Johnette Goldman's here tonight, so she was able to witness this as some other folks were, but a story that Harold Wilson, one of her coaches, likes to tell over and over again is when Jennifer was training to try to set the state record in the 800 meters in high school, her senior year, coach, and I guess her trainer at that time was John Richardson, was coaching her in the event, and she was excited, and they got in the state track meet. She went out hard trying to set the record. And what was amazing about it, you guys that know track, 800 meters is 2 laps around the track. In the first lap, Jennifer ran a time good enough to win the quarter in that state track meet. Of course, I think finally the old gorilla jumped on her back and she didn't quite get the record, but she won the championship and has a lot of other records in her time at Heber Springs. She also participated and starred in cross country and basketball. At Heber Springs, she set the rebounding record in basketball. She also still holds the pentathlon record for most points scored by an Arkansas female in that event in the history of the state of Arkansas. In 1991, Jennifer was honored for her superior versatility by being named as the Arkansas Gazette Female Athlete of the Year for the entire state, all classifications. She also was named the FCA State Athlete of the Year her senior year. That award was given to a male or female athlete. After high school, Jennifer went to the University of Arkansas and ran track for the Lady Razorbacks. In 1993, she came to Lyon College where she participated in cross country and basketball. In cross country, she earned all conference in 1993 and 1994. In 93 and 94, Jennifer also participated in the national meet in Kenosha, Wisconsin. In 1994, she helped lead Lyon to a second-place finish in the AIC conference track meet. Jennifer graduated from Lyon College with a degree in psychology with a concentration in elementary education. She's taught for 12 years in the public school systems in Arkansas, 10 of those years at Batesville. She volunteers with various community sports teams and events, and she also teaches children's Sunday school at Compass Church here in Batesville, continuing with her history of versatility. I got to know Jennifer better through having had the privilege of teaching and coaching her 2 children at Batesville High School, both great athletes in their own right. What I found out was that as great an athlete as Jennifer was, she was an even better person, mother, and a wife, a true champion in life. Jennifer and her husband Brad are the best of the best, and I'm proud to call them friends. And I'm also so thrilled to present Jennifer Presley Griffin into the Lyon College Athletic Hall of Fame, class of 2018.
I really hate that the ladies basketball team is not here tonight because I work with Brian Krug, and he really thought it would be funny if Coach Church was here, that we said he had helped me with my speech, because I think he's kind of notorious for his speech kind of being long-winded. So, and I think she's given him a lot of heartache over that over the last several years. So I'll have to tell him that I tried, but she was out of town. Thank you, Coach Smith, for those nice words. I distinctly remember a time in high school when our track team had come to Batesville for the Pioneer Relays. And as we crossed the White River, I could smell the sweet aroma of the chicken plant. And that, paired with the fact that I always got so car sick on bus trips, like I remember that moment like it was yesterday, thinking, I will never live in Batesville, Arkansas. I would never live here. Little did I know that in a couple of years from that date, not only would I be enrolled in Lyon College, but pretty much my whole life would be revolved around that point in this great town. Growing up, I loved sports, participated in about anything that I could sign up for. And in high school, I ran cross country and track and played basketball. And I loved competing in each of those, but I was especially motivated by the fact that in running, I really depended on my own abilities. And if something didn't go right in a race, I had no one to blame but myself. I just enjoyed that aspect of running. I knew by my senior year in high school that I wanted to continue running in college, and after graduation, I had a wonderful opportunity to run at the University of Arkansas. I was excited for this adventure because I had new goals to accomplish. I loved my time at Fayetteville. I learned a lot. I met a lot of really great people, and even though I only stayed for 2 years, I know that my time there was not wasted. The summer before my second year at Fayetteville, I was working as a park ranger for the Corps of Engineers and ran into a few guys that were camping, and one of those happened to be Brad Griffin, who I ended up marrying. But as we figured out that we really kind of liked each other enough for me to transfer, he was still in dental school at the time, and you can imagine what my thoughts were whenever he told me that he planned on graduating from dental school and opening up a practice in Batesville. And I was like, really? The one place on earth that I said I wouldn't live, that's where you want to open up a practice. So, but by the end of my second year, I was tired of the long commute, and I was thankful that doors were opened at Lyon College for me to continue sports. The differences between the University of Arkansas and Lyon College are huge, as you might imagine. But one difference I noticed immediately was that at Lyon College, I was more than a number or a face in the crowd. People here were friendly, and the professors knew my name, and the coaches cared about the athletes beyond winning. And these were all things that made competing at Lyon more personal, more like experiences that I'd had in high school. I owe a big thank you to Coach Jenkins for putting up with me for 3 years. I know that there must have been many times that he wanted to choke me. He would give us distance workouts to do, and if my basketball practice was hard or a little long, I may or may not have done the workout. And I justified that because I kind of thought if he really wanted us to do those, he probably would have run with us. And we knew that that didn't happen, so I probably skipped a few. There was also a time that I was finishing up a big statistics paper, and I didn't ride to a cross-country meet with our team. I just told Coach Jenkins that I would meet them there. And by the time I got my paper submitted and got to the meet at Hendricks, the race had already started, and I actually pulled up into the parking lot right as the gun was going off, and I was like, oh, dang it, I was so close. So I'm pretty sure that was one particular instance he really would have choked me if I'd have gotten close enough to him. But like I said earlier, the coaches at Lyon, they care about the athletes beyond winning, and he never made a big deal out of it. So thank you, Coach Jenkins, for making my years running here very special and ones that I truly enjoyed, and I enjoy talking about them and remembering them today. I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to attend Lyon College and experience what basketball and cross country was like here at this college. I had no way of knowing in high school that this would be the college that I would graduate from, and that it would be the start of my journey living in this great town. And I'm so glad that my high school declaration of I would never live in Batesville wasn't a reality. The people in this town are remarkable, and they hold a special place in my heart. I love that I can give back to the community by teaching and helping kids, and Batesville is blessed to have a college like Lyon. Before I close, I want to thank Coach Goldman. She's my high school coach, junior high and high school coach, and she came tonight. We kind of got our wires crossed. I wasn't sure exactly what the date was, and I told her one date, and then it ended up being this weekend. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And thank you, Coach Smith, for introducing me and taking time to do that. Thank you to my family for taking time to come tonight. I appreciate you. And to my parents who have always supported me and loved me through everything. So thank you again, Coach Jenkins, for being a great coach. And thank you to the committee for this amazing nomination and perfect night. I truly appreciate it.
Well, I learned two things right there. Number one, I realized why those kids were such good athletes. Now, I've always wondered that with Brad, but I realized. And number two, the best camping trip of a guy's life was the one you went on and met that girl. For sure, for sure. Our next presenter is Coach Kirk Kelley.
It's my honor to introduce Ryan Johnson tonight. Ryan played shortstop for us here in 1997, 1998, and we were given a script that said we're allowed 3 minutes. It's impossible to do that in 3 minutes, but there are three very important things I want to state about Ryan. And the first one is he was a great baseball player, and he played here 2 years, had all sorts of awards here. He was on a team that was very close to advancing to the World Series. And then he left here and played professional baseball for about 5 years. So he was a great baseball player. And he's even a better leader. So that's the statement number two I'd like to make him. He was one of those guys that truly made his teammates better. He made me better. He made everybody around him better. Made this college better. And the thing about Ryan is he caused my addiction to coffee. And because when I went to recruit Ryan, I drove south of Jackson, Mississippi to watch a 7 o'clock game that didn't end till 10. His team lost, and his coach ran him and ran him and ran him. Ryan won every single race. So again, I saw his leadership. Then he came and talked, and we probably finished about 2 o'clock in the morning. I had an 8 o'clock class. There was no way I was going to be late because I was next door to Coach Juan. So I drove all night long to get back. So now I'm addicted to coffee because of you. And then the last thing is just he's one of the most unbelievable men I've ever been around. He's a man of God. He's special. I was honored to coach you, blessed to coach you, and welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much, Coach. I still remember that trip as well. It was, he had been recruiting me for quite some time, and it just blew me away that he would take the time out of I think you came back from your spring trip, maybe. Your guys were one of those trips. Like we get lost in how many trips we take over the years, but it just blew me away that he would take that kind of time out of his way, that far out of his way, to come see me play, and then have to drive all night to get back for an 8 o'clock class. It's just, that's the kind of man that he is. God's word says in James 1:17, every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. I believe being inducted into my alma mater's Hall of Fame certainly qualifies as a good and perfect gift. I give Almighty God all the glory and praise for this tremendous blessing. President King, Kevin Jenkins, and the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, thank you for this humbling opportunity to join such a talented and accomplished group of Hall of Fame members. It was the summer of 1996 when I visited this great campus for the first time. Coach Kelley recruited me from Kishwaukee Community College up in northern Illinois. And even though there were no students or faculty on campus for my visit during the summer, I knew that this is where God was leading me for the next chapter of my life. Coach Kelley was a relentless recruiter who proved to me that he was a man of integrity, and I instantly knew that I wanted to play for him. Along with his assistant coaches, Robbie Holmes and Mitch Mathis, I was pushed beyond what I could ever do or become as a student athlete, or thought I could ever do or become as a student athlete. For that investment in my life, I'm forever grateful. Thank you, Coach. My parents, Brad and Kendra, who were able to make it down tonight from Northern Illinois, could not have been more supportive of my crazy desire to play college and professional baseball, driving me to countless practices and games, practicing with me after work when they didn't feel like it, actually allowing me to practice my base running inside on snowy days and cold and rainy days, and then also helping me make this dream a reality to come and play college baseball at Lyon College in Batesville, Arkansas, which I don't think we knew where Batesville was at the time, or let alone Arkansas. All I knew was I wanted to go south, and this was like Florida to me. And I quickly realized it was not Florida, and we had snow that first year. And I went to Coach Kelley and said, "Coach, what's the deal? I thought we were in the South here." He quickly reminded me it was the Mid-South. My younger brother, Justin, who could not make it tonight, would have to put up with my constant nagging to play ball and long hours at the ballpark as well. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Your amazing love and support gave me the confidence to pursue my dreams. I was blessed with great teammates and friends here at Lyon, many of who I still consider great friends today, but none greater than my best friend, Ryan Reevely. We spent countless hours in the batting cage and the old maintenance shed behind the upperclassmen residence halls improving our swings, but Ryan was and still is a great encourager in my life and like another brother to me. Unfortunately, he could not make the trip from Boston tonight. Transferring from a community college to a 4-year private liberal arts institution was extremely difficult. Although I was on the dean's list both years at Kishwaukee, I was not prepared for the academic rigor that I experienced here at Lyon College. However, Dr. Tebbets, my faculty advisor and professor, rescued me from ineligibility by putting in the extra time to tutor me. I am indebted to his efforts. Because of Dr. Tebbets and the rest of the Lyon College family, I overcame my academic inadequacies and became more prepared than most of my classmates in my master's degree program at the University of Central Arkansas. Unfortunately, Dr. Tebbets was not able to attend tonight. I believe he's in Mississippi visiting the home of William Faulkner with his class, as he does every year. So he regretted that he could not be here. Coach Terry Garner, athletic director, and Coach Fred Wan, intramural director, were also extremely supportive. They both believed in me enough to allow Coach Kelley to hire me as an assistant coach, as well as the sports information director and the assistant intramural director. I thank you both for giving me the chance to serve my alma mater in this way and allowing me to begin my higher education career here at Lyon College. And lastly, but certainly not least, God's most perfect gifts in my life, my wife, Sally, and my son, Hudson. Sally and I met after my playing and coaching years, but if you'd ask her today if she's sad if she's missed all that action, her answer would be an emphatic no. She's more of a football girl, but a perfect partner and the love of my life. Hudson is a bright student and a talented football player who has just finished his 8th grade season. It's a wonderful blessing to watch him play and encourage him as my parents encouraged me. Thank you both for your love and support tonight. Thank you all again for your investment in my life. This is not possible without great people. We make each other better. We sharpen each other. And that's the only reason why I'm here today. You've all been used as a good and perfect gift from above. I'm overjoyed to be a Lyon College alum and now a member of this prestigious Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Great speech. Really good, really good. Coach Kelley, you did a lot of the same things Coach Winningham did up here with the guys who played for you. I know that. A lot of good men come through here because of you, that's for sure. I wasn't one of them. Coach Garner, didn't he? We were more like the same age when you were here, and I can remember some of those Unbelievable throws you made in intramural softball to throw me out with my blazing speed. So, Elbert Lindsey is our next presenter. Come on up, Elbert.
I'd like to start out with something that I don't have written out here. We've got a couple of legends in the room tonight, in my opinion. And I'm a baseball person, so I'm a little prejudiced. But the two previous presenters before me are just remarkable people and baseball people. Kirk, Kelley, Stu Smith. They breathed life into baseball in this area when they started a high school program and revived the college program here, and I'm so thankful for them. They are wonderful, wonderful men and great baseball coaches, and I thank you. I'm here to present Michael Kingree tonight into the Lyon College Athletic Hall of Fame. Michael came to Arkansas College in 1972 and from Three Rivers Junior College in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, where he played baseball. And he was here and played in 73, 74, and I think he actually attended school in 75 and finished his degree. 1974, he was our team co-captain along with Tom Teague. He was second team All-AIC as a catcher while he was here. And at that time, Lyon College baseball or Lyon College athletics were in the old AIC, which is a pretty stout conference. Mike was actually selected to be on an all-star team that played the Arkansas Travelers and in Little Rock. Just a one-game kind of an exhibition game, but Mike played, and he played well. He had a hit against a professional pitcher, and he kind of smiled about that. Mike came as he was a center fielder when he first got here, and we were needing help behind the plate, coach, one. And Mike was versatile enough that he could have played anywhere on the field. He had all the tools necessary to be a successful baseball player. He had a strong arm, had a quick bat, and had excellent power. He was more of a gap hitter, but they talk about exit velocity, which that didn't exist back then, but Mike had real good exit velocity on the baseball. Mike was a very even-keeled, emotional person. He was not excitable at all. He always had his. He was composed, and he would smile occasionally, but he never exhibited anything negative on the baseball field. He was focused, knew the game well, and his skills were way above average. He was very mature, and of course he should have been. He was older than the rest of us. I didn't realize that till later on, that Mike was a couple years older than me. But playing with Mike kind of was like, well, here's a man playing with a bunch of kids. And he was that way. He was mature, and he carried himself that way. After Mike graduated from Arkansas College, he returned to Bloomfield, Missouri, and he taught physical education and coached middle school boys basketball and high school girls softball from 1975 to 1977. He became a caseworker for Division of Family Services, and in July of 1977, he attended the Highway Patrol Academy to to become a Missouri State Highway Patrol. And he did that, and he did that until 2003 when he retired. He coached his own kids in basketball, baseball, and softball, was involved in Cub Scouts, in 4-H, and as a lot of us old baseball players did, he played a little slow pitch softball. He enjoyed hanging and fishing, and one of his prime happinesses in life was being a grandfather. Mike passed away in 2014. And I'm moved by that because after Mike left here, I never saw him again. But tonight we have Miss Jeanne Kingree to come and accept Mike's induction into the Lyon College Athletic Hall of Fame.
Okay, here we go, if I can read this. I want to thank you so much and for all the work that was put into this, and especially for Elbert, because he worked on it hard. And it is an honor for me to accept this for Mike, and also accepting it for his kids and his grandkids. Some of them are here. My daughter's here with two of her kids, Mike's brother and his wife, and then a friend of ours that took the 3-year-old out. Better put my glasses on so I can see. Mike was born and raised in Bloomfield, Missouri, which I'll give you a little history lesson. It's at the top of the boot. You know how Missouri has a boot? We're at the top. We're still hilly. We're not flat, and we don't raise watermelons, but it's still hilly, good hunting, and all that. And the one thing we're known for in Bloomfield is the military Stars and Stripes newspaper was first written, the first copy was written at Bloomfield, Missouri during the Civil War. That's about the only thing we have, and we have a beautiful veteran cemetery, and we're sort of known for that. We used to be known for a lot of chicken houses, but that sort of has gone away. So, but we have the Stars and Stripes Military Museum, so if you're ever close to the boot hill, go up there and see it. It's really nice. Mike was born and raised with a very tight-knit family. They were always really very close. He had 2 brothers and a sister. He had wonderful mom and dad. And I always tell people, you could never, ever have a better mother and father-in-law than what I did. I have a plant at my house that's from my mom, and it's a mother-in-law's tongue. You know, the long sticks and the pointed thing at the end. I have always hated that name for those plants because it just didn't describe my mother-in-law, because she was probably the sweetest person. Well, you could never have a better mother-in-law than I did. Well, we got married in May of 1972, and then we moved here to Batesville in August. And this place was really a good fit for us because it was a small town, bigger than Bloomfield quite a bit, woods, and a river. So there was nothing more that we could want to come to Batesville. He always loved baseball. He played, you know, as soon as he could play. And then like one time he had mumps, was crying and crying, wanting to play. Of course, they wouldn't let him. He played every chance he got. He played on a Poplar Bluff Legion team. And at that time, they traveled all the time. They would have a doubleheader on Saturdays, travel that night, stay in a motel, and then have a doubleheader the next day. They played all the time. They had like a really big schedule. He would work for his dad in the daytime, help him be a plumber, and then he'd have to get in his car and then drive to Poplar Bluff, and they'd go on road trips. And then if he got home at 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, he went to work the next morning. Yeah, he always coached our kids' teams, and he'd help me with the girls' team. And he was actually signed up to help coach one of the grandkids' teams for that summer, but he passed away. So he would have started that, coaching the grandkids teams, and he probably would still be doing that. There were so many times that there would be a kid on Mike's team, and people would say, "Oh, you are going to have so much trouble with this kid. They're so awful. They're terrible." And one time he had twins, and I remember one time at my business, I had to call their mother because they was chasing each other, shooting each other with BB guns. They were like 8. And so, but all those boys that everybody always told him were trouble, they loved him, they played hard for him, and they never gave him trouble. He just had a way with those kids. There was one time a little boy named Damien, and he was crying one night, and Mike said, "Well, what's wrong, Damien?" He said, "You know, all the other kids' dads come to their games, you know, most of them every game," and he said, "My dad has never been. I would like for him to come." And so Mike told me, he said, "Well, Damien, that's just, some fathers just don't do that." And, you know, he said, "But when you have kids, Damien," he said, "you go to their games." He said, "You go to every game, anything they do at school." He said, "You go to it and you be the one to change it, and you do what's right, and remember how you felt." But he had a soft spot for Damien, because Damien played on another team one time, but Mike saw he had potential, but he wasn't swinging right, so Mike would have him to come to his team's practice to practice with him, although, you know, they played against him. And he wouldn't have cared if Damien got better and hit a home run and beat him. He was also real protective over his players that would pitch. I kept score, and I had to keep like every pitch count. And once they got to a certain count, didn't matter innings, he took them out. It wouldn't have mattered if they were behind one, tied, or whatever. They came out and somebody else pitched. He would never, ever pitch them any more past that 1 point, and he would never let them throw curveballs. He was very protective over their arms. He never pushed our kids to play. Richie wasn't really into sports that much, and at the school we went to, the principal, him and Mike had played Legion ball. He said, "Well, you should make him play." Because Mike said, "No, he could be pretty." He said, "No, I'm not going to do that." He said, "He can, if he wants to play, that's fine." Our girls didn't even play till they were like 13 and 14. Someone said, "Oh, you know, just tell us some good, if you had any good memories here at baseball." I said, "Oh, we had lots of good memories. Just so many things." But, you know, besides baseball, you know, he loved to hunt, he loved to fish, and he really liked that White River and fishing. He used to go with some friends of his, Rick Mueller. He was like 6'5". He was a pitcher on the baseball team, and he played basketball. And then Rick's friend, George, I think Sedini, he was like 6'7", and Mike, 5'9.5", you know, tried to push it to 5'10". Well, and then one was from St. Louis, and I think one was from New York, or somebody else had thought maybe New Jersey. Well, they would go to Cushman, is that the right little name of town? They would drive up to Cushman, but they would have to walk a mile to go trout fishing. But these boys were from the city, and they were all their elements, so they would make Mike, they wouldn't go unless Mike took his pistol with them. Because they were, you know, Mike would have been scared in New York City, but he would have to take his pistol. And so then they made a mistake of watching Deliverance. And so then they're really scared. But Mike told him, he said, "Look at you two." He said, "Rick's 6'5", and he wasn't little. He was a big boy, wasn't he? Long hair, you know, they wore it pretty long then, big old mustache, and then there was George, 6'7". And Rick always wore coveralls with a plaid shirt. He goes, "People would be scared of you." He said, "Think about it." He said, they would think you were mountain men. He never could understand. They were so scared to go up there, but he said in reality, just regular people would have been scared of them because they were just huge. See if I missed anything. He retired from the Highway Patrol just as soon as he could. He was retired for 11 years. He went to Wyoming about every year to go hunting, and the last time we went, our youngest son went, and our oldest grandson, and me and Mike, and there was other people from Bloomfield, other campsites, and so that was like a really, really good time. But he, as you can tell, and from the pictures, the hunting, the fishing, but he hunted all the time. And then the one cat that was in the picture, I don't know if you noticed, he had gotten me that kitten, and he picked it out because he thought it was the ugliest cat in the litter, the plainest, and he was so afraid that nobody else would take it. So he got me that cat, Rocky, but the cat was mean. I would kiss it, and it would bite me, and Mike would say, "I told you he don't want to be kissed," and he would rub on Mike. But he was mean. He would take after dogs. Mike was just really such a good person, and he never expected any more out of, he expected just as much out of himself as he did his kids or anyone else. He never expected more. If he had to arrest someone, he always tried to treat them with respect, didn't respect. Now, if they got mean, he could get really mean. But he also really believed he did not ever mean that the means justified the ends. He was really big on never violating people's rights. And still, he just never believed that. But he did try to treat people with respect that. He always was a big believer, too, that if somebody would accuse you of some wrongdoing, that the people who knew you really well would never even think it to be true. And one time when he was a trooper, there was a girl, and he said she just wasn't very pretty at all. And he said, didn't cry, and he said, because he knew of troopers who, if the pretty girls cried when they'd get out of the tickets, well, he gave them tickets if they cried. But he said this girl just really wasn't very pretty, and he said, I bet she never gets a break. He said, I'm going to give her a break today. He didn't tell her why he gave her the break, but he said, she didn't cry, and she just took, he said, I'm not going to write you, and she needed a ticket. He said, I just want you to drive safe, and I'm not going to give you a ticket. And then we got married in that May, and years later, he'd stopped someone for speeding, speeding bad. And he said, well, where are you going to in such a hurry? And he said, well, I'm going to a wedding. What idiot has a wedding on Memorial Weekend? And Mike said, I got married on Memorial Weekend because it was a 3-day weekend. The guy goes, oh, well, he got a ticket. But he would have got one anyway, I promise. On his headstone, we have, this is one of his favorite sayings. It says, for evil to flourish, something like this, good men do nothing. And that was one of Ronald Reagan's, big things he would quote. It's been really emotional thinking about all this, and it was really hard for me to come down here, but I'm glad I did. And I just really thank everybody who worked on this really hard, and that I got down here and I made it. And locked my keys in my truck yesterday, but got unlocked today. I do that all the time. But we just really appreciate it. We have 4 kids and 9 grandkids, and his brothers and sisters. We just really appreciate this honor. And this was just really nice. And when I came down to Arkansas, I saw signs like in Bowdoin and Cave City and all those names we used to see when we'd come down here. And it was like, oh, it's just the campus is beautiful. It's so much bigger. It's just so nice. I was just so impressed. I didn't know smaller. It was small when I was here, and it just has grown so much. It's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. It's nice to be back in Batesville. I miss Batesville. That river, and we have woods, but we don't have a river that good close to our house.
Well, I never knew Mike, but I know people that coach youth sports like that and impact that many lives. And I guarantee you, he had to be a good guy to do that for so many years, especially when you didn't even have kids playing. He had to be a good guy, so congratulations on that. Our next presenter is Coach Justin D.
I know what you're thinking. Yeah. I must be an unbelievable recruiter. Because a woman like Daria Paunović didn't grow up in Bald Knob. She came from Pale, Bosnia. Today it kind of started with Van Compton. Van coached here, recruited a girl named Svetlana Brichkolo that went down to UALR for a season. It didn't work down there, and Van said, I think there's a great place for you at Lyon College. So Sesa, which is Svetlana's name, came up here, and she was going into her senior year, and there was a coaching change. So she kind of took it upon herself to be a recruiter and recruited Daria to come on up here. I remember I got the job, it was the summer of 2004. It was beginning of July. Coach Terry Garner gave me a phone call and said, hey, Coach D, we want you to come up and coach our volleyball team. I think I got up here about July 17th. He started me, the girls came in like August 1st. Showed me around the gym, showed me the locker room, showed me my office, came outside, talked about a couple of the girls that were coming back. Told me about the recruits. He said, we got this one kid from Batesville, and we got this girl from Bosnia. I've never seen any video on her. She might not be any good. She might have a peg leg and a patch over her eye, but she's coming. And so Coach Garner gave me a great opportunity to understand that. And so Sesa and Daria flew into Little Rock. I believe it was her first plane trip ever from Sarajevo to Little Rock. Quite a culture shock, and went to go get her. Plane went a little bit long. It was about 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning down in Little Rock. Got through customs and everything, got all of her stuff, got into a Lyon College van, started to drive her down here, and as we were coming down here, all I hear out of the back is, this is so interesting. This is so interesting. I'm like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't even see the road. I don't know what she's saying is so interesting. It was about the third practice. She turned her ankle really bad. Couldn't practice that whole week, so she kind of sat on the side. I always say twiddling her thumbs. I'm like, Daria, you need to kind of watch what we're doing. This is America. We're doing volleyball in America here. And she's like, I got this. And sure enough, the first game, I believe it was Sean even said, hey, Daria, you can go ahead and go out there. And she went out there, first game, boom, boom, boom. She just killed every ball that she got. She just absolutely blew it away. She didn't know very much English. She didn't know Spanish at all, but she would just find people that spoke Spanish and just sit down with them right here in the Commons and talk to them. And she learned Spanish. She learned Italian. She learned all these languages. She never met a student she didn't like and she didn't love and didn't talk to. And she was in about every single group that there was here. We used to go in vans every single time. Daria would sit up front with me. And one of my favorite memories of Daria, and I do this even today, but we would drive to our conference tournaments or our matches, and we'd go into Tennessee, or we'd go into Louisiana, or we'd go into Missouri. And when we got to the state line, Daria would sit there, and she'd wait until she saw the state line thing, and she'd just talk to me kind of casually, and then she'd throw her hand up and say, I made it to Missouri first. And every time I go over a state line, I do it, and I'm by myself in the car. I look like the biggest idiot in the world. Coach Kelley will say that's right. But anyway, one of the other things that I remember about Daria, probably one of the greatest days, I would almost say in my life. I turned 30 years old. And at 12 o'clock at night on my 30th birthday, July 4th, 2006, Daria called me up. First person, before my mom, before my brother, before anybody else, a girl that was on my volleyball team, about to be a junior, called me up and she goes, Coach, happy birthday. She goes, you're not 30 years old, you're $29.95 plus tax. And that kind of gives you an idea about who Daria is. You can read about her stats there in the program. She leads the history of Lyon College in kills. If you're a baseball coach, that's kind of like leading in home runs. She's 7th in digs. That's kind of like defensive putouts. I don't know what she is on aces, but she's got a bunch of them. Some of you that played with her today, you saw that. That's kind of like pitches and strikeouts. Daria's a pretty awesome volleyball player. Daria's a pretty awesome teammate. Daria is an unbelievable player. She's a wonderful wife to her husband. She's a wonderful mother to Sasha. She's a wonderful friend of mine. They say in my 20 years of coaching, they always tell coaches you shouldn't pick favorites. But I'd like to introduce you to my friend and my favorite player in the history of my coaching career, Miss Daria Paunović Starck.
Hello, everyone. Coach D, thank you. Thank you for an awesome introduction. I'm going to try not to cry. I'm already starting. Basically, my strategy is to avoid looking at my mom for the rest of the evening. And actually, speaking of my mom, she's a big reason I'm even standing here. It was my mom's idea to come to the States. She actually, as I played volleyball growing up in Europe or in Bosnia, sports are not affiliated with schools. So she knew that I didn't want to stop playing volleyball, and she didn't want me to quit school to keep playing volleyball. So her brilliant idea was, oh, why don't you contact the two girls there in America and see if you can get on a team with them. Mind you, these two girls were on the top team back home when I was a water girl. I volunteer my weekends to go wipe the floors in between sets and give them their water. So it was a bit of a far-fetched idea, but I went for it. And I know where I got my courage and persistency from now, from my mom that gave me the idea to come here. Long story longer, one of the two girls that I contacted actually answered and said, yes, we actually have scholarship and I'll get you in contact with the coach, and she did. And the whole process started. The girl that brought me over, her name is Svetlana Brčkalo. And I started the process. I passed my test. I did everything that I needed to do. I got enrolled in school, got my acceptance letter, great. Then I learned the volleyball coach is no longer with the program. And for about 30 or 45 days, there was silence. We bought a ticket. Like I said, I got my acceptance letter. And Mom said, well, what do we do now? And I said, well, I'm going. I've got my ticket. I've got my letter. I'm going. We'll figure it out. And so about 30, 45 days later, I had an email that I received from Coach D. It was it was every bit of him, very welcoming, happy, excited, and warm. The impression was the same when I met him in person on a hot, humid August evening in Little Rock. He welcomed me with open arms, and I think he was pretty excited that I didn't have an eye patch and I didn't have a wooden leg, and I had both arms. So we get to campus, and I was helping, he was helping Ceca and I with our bags. I might have dropped something, I'm not sure, and so I said a word that's in Serbian language. It's a slang, and I said, jebajga, I'll come back to it. And so Eva knows what I'm talking about. And so Coach was excited and said, oh, what is that? I want to learn a new language. So he picked up the word right away. He said, what does it mean? And he kept pronouncing it and really excited, kind of almost like Italian accent. And I said, oh, it means like whatever. And he said, oh, okay. So he actually just adopted it and started using it in everyday language. Started using it with, coin toss, or anytime they were playing or anytime they were in practice, he would just say, jebajga. And so it was a word that he used. I believe at the end of my freshman year, he went to, he's getting a little uncomfortable. At the end of my freshman year, he went to a conference. I believe it was like a NCAA conference. And of course, we're everywhere. So we met a couple of Serbians and was super excited to share what he knew in Serbian, and sat next to them, left the conversation, probably blushed. And I received a call shortly after. And he advised me that he's learned what the word means, and he's not going to use it anymore, and he hasn't since. I want to say that his payback was probably my freshman year team pictures, and telling his team, girls team volleyball, that not telling us actually that we have team pictures the morning of, or 2 a day at 8 a.m. We showed up. I actually took my ponytails out, so they were still in a ponytails, but no ponytail holders around them. It was a beautiful thing. Luckily, back then, we didn't have the fancy pictures that are in the gym now. So we sort of have a memory of it, but not the rest of the people enjoyed it at that time. Oh, and not to mention things that we didn't have. AC. What was AC in 04, 05, 06, 07, 08? We couldn't even have morning practices. We tried one morning, again, during our two-a-day. It was 6 a.m., I think. And it was so dewy that we couldn't do anything. And I think our coach wasn't a morning person anyway, so he sort of took that as an excuse and said, well, no more morning practices. I was fine with it. So although I was able to teach Dee a few Serbian words, it was a mutual effort. I learned from Dee that you don't say mocha, you say mocha. We were at Arby's, I believe, and I looked at him and I said, Coach, what is yamocha? And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, up there. He was like, Daria, it's mocha. It's yamocha. The other one is far more exciting, actually, and I can't believe this wasn't a part of your speech. I thought it would be. He taught me the difference between a skunk and a skink. We were driving from Jonesboro. Your pride and joy standing up here. We were driving from Jonesboro. Actually, I would go with Coach to junior practices every now and then. And we were driving from Jonesboro, and I think I might have dozed off, and I woke up to a horrible smell. And I was like, oh, Coach, I was like, is that a skink? And his answer was even better. He laughed, like it was like LOL in real life. He laughed and said, no, Daria, it's a skunk, but I'm pretty sure they smell about the same. So now I realize on my way to the States, I was that passenger that you don't want to sit by on the airplane. I literally ran on 24 hours straight of no sleep and fueled with pure excitement. I may be the youngest one standing here tonight, but even then in 04, I didn't own a cell phone, and there wasn't a social media presence yet. So I printed a lot of pictures and brought all of them on a plane with me. You know, the pictures were my family, my dog, my neighbors, my friends, their dogs, their family, you name it, I had it. So, and I had, you best believe, I had a middle seat. I had options to my left and to my right. So I would show everybody pictures and tell them and talk to them and tell them where I'm going. I was super excited. The only thing that I was not excited, kind of hoping, it's a silly thing, but I was hoping that I wouldn't get a jersey number 11. So there's a story with that. Actually, the number 11 belonged to one of the players on a team back home that whenever she wouldn't show up to practice, I get to play. So she didn't show up to practice for a week. She would show up to a game, and she would play. So the jersey was in my hands, out of my hands, in my hands, out of my hands. And that happened often. And then finally, one day has come, and I got my jersey, I got my number 11, and Coach said, you're starting today. She didn't show, she didn't come. I'm warming up, things are great, I get to get my chance, this is my day. Coach pulls me aside and says, hey, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I forgot to register you today, so you can't play. So my jersey number 11 left my hands again. Needless to say, I never got to wear it. So fast forward, we get to the locker assignment, and Coach says, you're number 10. I was stoked. I go to number 10, locker number 10. All practice shirts and jerseys are number 11. I go back out, and I said, Coach, I thought you said number 10. And I went to locker number 10, but everything inside is number 11. He said, yeah, the locker is number 10, but you are number 11. So I sort of accepted it, and I said, okay, well, this is my chance. This is my chance to wear the number 11 and step on a court and make my own faith. Little did I know, number 11 was going to be so prominent throughout my life. As you know, we have metric system in Europe, so coming here, converting my sizes to US, now my shoe size was also 11. About halfway through my freshman year, my pants became size 11. My dad passed away on April 11th at 1:11 p.m. I started my first corporate job on January 11th, 2011. And now, to throw a little twist and bring it home, my husband, who I met in Dallas, is also playing volleyball. We met through volleyball. So although he's a football collegiate athlete, he's actually a really good volleyball player as well. We played together a lot of indoor co-ed and a lot of co-ed sand recently. In Dallas, it's actually all year round. You don't play indoor all year round. Anyway, Tom's jersey is number 13. And of course, mine is 11 because I stuck to it once I made the decision in 04 that it is my number, it belongs to me. So with him, 13, and my number 11, to bring the story to a full loop, our daughter Sasha was born on 11/13, 2015. So coming to the States, there were quite a few things that I needed to learn and adapt to. One was being personal space, or as I learned here, a bubble. I didn't have one, so I didn't know other people did too. So I quickly learned. And the other system was the schooling system. Growing up, we didn't have multiple choice answers or tests. So that was a bit tough and a big change for me. A lot of my tests growing up were essays or oral exams. So as you can see, I can talk for days. Coming here, everything was multiple choice. So my freshman year, I was almost a little bit clueless until I met with my coach about midterms. And he sat me down, and that was the first time he was very serious with me, and I didn't understand it. He said, hey, you need to get your grades up. If you have below 2.5, you can't play. And I said, well, I don't understand. And so he said, well, midterms are coming up. You have your chance. I was like, midterms? What are midterms? I have no idea. Anyway, so obviously I'm standing up here. I graduated. I got my grades up, and actually was a scholar athlete. So the talk that we had, I did not want to have it anymore or ever again. So I learned. And then before I go into my next story, I do want to say that I had an honor of being here last year for last year's banquet, Athletic Hall of Fame, and watch my best friend Elaine get inducted. One of the inductees, Catherine Buchanan Mayberry, gave me an idea. She actually gave her coach a gift and then talked about it. So I wanted to give my coach a gift, and then I'll tell you a story, of course, about it. I did not wrap it, so I wanted to get his reaction.
This is wonderful. Thank you, Daria.
You're welcome. So.
It's the movie White Chicks, everyone. White Chicks, you haven't seen it, I'll be watching outside.
Yes. It's the movie White Chicks. I can't recall, it was my junior, senior year. Coach rented a big bus and took us to Cardinals game in St. Louis, and it was a team retreat. He asked what we should play, and collectively, although I think it was just Katie and I, we said, White Chicks. He never saw it, and he said, okay, sure, let's put it on. The movie went against about all of his morals, but he let us be college girls, and we watched the movie. Ever since then, we would recite lines, songs, and even mocked voices and laughs from the movie. To this day, when I hear a song, 1,000 Miles, I record it, or I call Coach, and I play it for him. And so the White Chicks live on. I know that I won't have time to mention everybody tonight here at Lyon, but I do want to mention some people that have made an impact on my life, and certainly want to mention a few names. First, as I mentioned, Ceca Brčkalo. Besides my mom getting Adia to come here, Ceca was one that believed in me and responded and said yes. I wish I had more than 1 year in college together, but man, the 1 year with her was absolute blast. She was my person. In college, we had an idea that we'll have a duplex one day when we grow up and we'll live together forever. Although we're states apart, she lives in California. We manage to see each other every now and then. And of course, with today's endless social media connection and FaceTime, we're able to keep in touch often. Another person that's not here, his name is Danny Bardos. When I enrolled in college in 2004, there was Dan Rutledge and Danny Bardos that worked in admissions. Both were awesome, and again, thanks to social media, I'm able to keep in touch with them and stay connected. Anyway, Danny personally went to the admin building to make a case for me. He learned that I was enrolled in Spanish 101, and he was livid. So he went to admissions to make a case for me and fight. Why did they make me take a foreign language when this is already a second language for me? Little did he know that it was my decision to enroll in Spanish. Another memorable person that I'd like to mention is Coach Peel. Coach Peel was probably the least knowledgeable volleyball coach I've ever had, but has definitely left a lasting impression on me. His secret weapon that I bet you no other team had is called windmill. In theory, it's supposed to trick the opponent that you were going up and going to hit the ball with your right, but you're actually going to come back around and hit it with your left. So in his mind, that was a winning point or technique that nobody else had in their pocket. As he said, they won't know it's coming. You go up and you come back with the other one. Dr. Tom Carpenter and Dean Johnston, they fought for student rights. Dr. Tom always had his door open for students at the Young House for a warm cup of hot chocolate or a bite to eat. He always had enough food and words of wisdom to share. Not to mention many times that he helped me get back into my dorm room after I had misplaced my key. I won't tell you if this was after dinner or if this was when he was taking his dog for a morning walk in the morning. Upon graduation, Dr. Tom was flying out to Seattle or Boston for a period of time. He offered his car to my mom and I to have and to get around for a period of time that my mom was staying here after graduation so that we can travel. All he asked was to drop him off at the airport and pick him up when he comes back. Joni Buby, international students will be lost without you. I think I tell you that, and I told you that tonight. Joni ensured not only that each international student has a host family in town, a home away from home, and someone to call home, but she also took time to educate us about taxes, scheduled time to file our taxes with us every year, even though all of us would just wait for that last moment and last point on the books for her to show us. She taught us about laws for international students, do's and don'ts, and ensured us that all of our documents are up to date and everything is in order before we leave the country so that we can come back. Joni and Paul would always welcome international students into their home every year, starting with the big pool party, and then you name it, for any holiday, their doors were always open. I truly didn't understand the impact of her role until I left Lyon. I went from here to East Central University, and I would still call Joni and ask her for advice. So please, I know that there's a table of international students there. Cherish her. She's very knowledgeable. She's hardworking. She's loving, and she knows what she's doing. Unfortunately, it took me time to leave to meet another international advisor, another school, just to know that Joni was so precious. So thank you, Joni. one thing that, besides, going back now, besides all the beautiful things about Joni, if it wasn't for Joni, I wouldn't have met Gail and Jim. Gail and Jim, they're a perfect match for me. We've known each other now for 14 years. Not only that they were there for me for 4 years at Lyon, but they continue to be my second home. I never feel like a guest when I'm going to their house. They've hosted many people, many of my friends to their house. Even today, every time I come to town, we have people over. We cook, we have a great time. We bring food in when we don't cook. And so they're just great. They came to all of my home games. They took me out to eat after home games, much like all of my other American teammates that had families that would come and watch them and take them to eat. I never felt like I was not theirs and they were not mine. So thank you. Diane Alice, she's not here, but she shared building office with Joni. And she would just be so welcoming and to international students. I often had a feeling that she would purposely hang out in the lobby just to catch international students come by and ask her to share their stories with them. We all gladly did it. We all gladly shared our stories. She was there when my father passed, and although I had a hard time opening up and talking, she was there with me every step of grieving and ensuring that things are going to be okay and I'll be okay. Jen and Ray, I can't believe this is your 10th season. Is it 11th or 10th? 11th. Number 11! Another 11! Yes! And I'm getting inducted on your 11th season. How awesome. I never had privilege to be coached by you, but I still almost have to do a double take when someone asks me if I ever played for you. And so you guys have been so awesome and welcoming. And again, like I can't think of Lyon, even though I was never coached by you. I can't ever think of Lyon without thinking of Ray and Jen. So thank you guys. Ellen and I were great friends our freshman year. And then we let a boy get in the way of our friendship. Not only until 6 years later, when we connected in Dallas, where else other than at a volleyball tournament, that we caught up and resumed our friendship. Today we both live in Dallas, and Ellen's one of my closest friends. Not only that she's one of my closest friends, but watching her interact with my daughter and love of my daughter is one of my favorite things. I know we have some seniors here, so I just want to tell you guys not to rush. Enjoy your college experience, take a deep breath, and make every moment count. It all goes by fast, and then when you graduate, you get out to the real world, start paying bills. It's too late to look back and wish on experiences that you didn't get to enjoy. Life is short. Grudges are ways to perfect happiness. So laugh when you can, apologize when you should, and let go of things that you can't change. In closing, of course, I want to thank to my family, my mom, my dad, my sisters, who supported me financially and made it possible for me to even get to where I am today. And finally, as a coach myself, our goals are always to impact the lives of our athletes that we work with. I need to thank Lyon College Volleyball, and Coach D for the profound impact that they had on my life by giving me the opportunity to come to the States, to come to this school, and help me set path that resulted in everything I have achieved and become today. I hope that's encouragement to those of you that continue to coach and mold the athletes to witness tangible effect that you have on our lives. Thank you, everybody.
Coach D, you had a fun time when you were here, didn't you? I've seen Coach Green have a good time with some of these girls, but well, these two right here have been here the last couple of years. They're special, aren't they? Yep. Congratulations. That's awesome. Couple things. All of the inductees, as soon as we get finished right here, need you up here on stage to take pictures. I want to say, as usual, really good to see everybody. Said this when I got inducted. This is kind of like my extended family. Always has felt that way. So it's different when your parents went to school here and people I called Uncle Jim and Aunt Jeanne my whole life. It's just pretty special. So appreciate everybody coming out. Encourage people to come to this thing. It's a really, really good event. I want to thank everybody for coming. As usual, we're going to conclude this with Miss Juan, and we're going to sing the alma mater.
Fred says you all don't sing. I expect you all to sing this with me. It's not a solo. Here we go. Lyon, thy children, laud the name today. Unto thee we'll offer our hymn of praise for aye. We shall ever love thee, loyal we shall be. Are y'all singing? Lay our memories, hold us ever near to thee. Lyon, all hail to thee, all hail the standards bright. Forever we'll adore thee and follow in thy light. Were you singing, Haney? Good night.